Have you ever stopped and wondered how we got, well, here? How the world of kings and castles, of unshakable faith and feudal lords just came apart to create the world that we're living in right now? Well, today we're diving into this incredible chain reaction of ideas and revolutions that literally built our modern age.
This sentence right here, it perfectly sums up the massive shift we're about to explore. This is the story of humanity basically trading in blind faith for curiosity and hard evidence. And let me tell you, that change would shake the very foundations of society.
All right, so where do we even begin a story this big? Well, it all starts with the slow, steady crumbling of the old medieval order. Let's take a look at the system that had to fall apart before anything new could ever be built in its place.
For centuries, this was it. This was the system. You can think of it like a giant, rigid pyramid where everybody knew their place, period. You worked the land for a lord, he gave you protection. It was a world built entirely on duty and service, not on cash or climbing the social ladder.
But yeah, a system like that wasn't meant to last forever. And here's the really cool part, how these three things just fed into each other. You see, towns started popping up, offering freedom and jobs, pulling people away from the farms. Then trade just explodes, and all of a sudden, cash is king, way more valuable than just promising to serve a lord. And this created a whole new, powerful group of people, the merchants. They had the money, they had the influence, and they backed the kings, not the local lords. You can just feel that old pyramid starting to crack, can't you?
And as that old world started to fade away, something truly incredible began to rise up and take its place. A whole new way of thinking, a new belief in what humans could achieve that would change absolutely everything.
And this image right here captures that new spirit perfectly. The Renaissance, it literally means rebirth, was this explosion of creativity. I mean, look at the Mona Lisa. Artists started focusing on human beings, on our potential, our beauty, our complicated minds. The main character in the story of life was no longer just God, it was us. This idea is called humanism. And here's the thing. Once you start asking big questions in one area, it's pretty much impossible to stop. If people are creative and capable of reason, well, why should they just blindly follow everything an institution says, even an institution as powerful as the church?
And this is the man who lit the fuse, Martin Luther. He was a German priest, and he was just fed up with what he saw as corruption inside the church. He wasn't talking about small changes either. He was about to drop a revolutionary idea about the very nature of faith.
And boom, there it is. That was the bombshell. Luther basically argued that you didn't need the church or the pope to be saved. All you needed was faith, and the Bible was the only true guide. This one idea completely shattered the unity of the Christian world, creating a permanent split between Catholics and the new Protestants.
Okay, so this spirit of questioning didn't just stop with religion, not even close. Soon it turned its eyes up to the stars and out across the oceans. It was about to literally redraw our map of the universe and the world itself.
For thousands of years, everybody just knew that the earth was the center of everything. I mean, it was in the holy books, it felt like common sense. But these new thinkers, they weren't happy with just common sense. They wanted to watch and measure and calculate. And their math led to a pretty shocking conclusion. We were not the center of the universe after all.
And this wasn't just one person's eureka moment. It was more like a scientific relay race. Copernicus gets the ball rolling with his radical idea. Kepler takes the baton and refines it, proving the planets moved in ovals, not perfect circles. And then Galileo, with his own homemade telescope, saw it with his own eyes. He saw the moons of Jupiter, providing the visual proof that just shattered the old model for good.
So while some people were looking up at the heavens, others were looking out at the seas. And they were driven by this really powerful trio of motives you can remember as God, glory, and gold. They wanted to spread their faith, they wanted to claim new lands for their king and become famous, and, maybe most of all, they wanted to get rich by finding new, faster sea routes to all the valuable spices and silks of the East.
So let's recap. You've got new ideas, new science, and a flood of new wealth coming in from all over the globe. All of that set the stage for our third act, a series of absolutely massive revolutions that would start putting power directly into the hands of the people.
All that gold and capital from trade had to go somewhere, right? Well, it got invested in new machines, new factories, and this was the Industrial Revolution. It probably changed daily life for humans more than anything since the invention of farming. People flooded into cities, and for the first time in history, life was powered by machines, not just muscle.
But this brave new world created a brand new social divide. And it was a stark one. On one side, you had the capitalists, the owners, the people who owned the factories and got incredibly wealthy. And on the other, you had the workers, who had nothing to sell but their own labor, often for really low pay in dangerous, awful conditions. This conflict right here, it would define the next 200 years of history.
Now, at the exact same time society was being reshaped by factories, it was also being totally transformed by political ideas. The American and French revolutions. They were different in a lot of ways, but they were both lit by the same radical spark. This belief that governments get their power from the people, not from God.
And these were the ideas that echoed across the planet. Liberty, equality, fraternity, the right to life, and the pursuit of happiness. Come on, these weren't just nice-sounding slogans. They were a direct challenge to every king and emperor on Earth, and they became the fundamental blueprints for modern democracy.
So, in our final act, we get to see how all these revolutionary ideas, all this change, clashed and combined to forge the world of nations that we recognize today. A world shaped by powerful new isms, nationalism and socialism.
That idea of fraternity, of brotherhood, well, it evolves into nationalism, this powerful belief that people who share a language and a culture should have their own country. And nobody embodied this new, aggressive type of nationalism more than this guy, Otto von Bismarck. He didn't use debates or treaties to unite all the little German states. He used blood and iron, meaning industry and war.
But nationalism wasn't the only big idea on the block. Remember that huge new class of industrial workers we talked about? Well, a new ideology, socialism, came along and told them that their real brothers weren't the factory owners from their own country. No, their real family was the working class of every country.
And this idea found its most explosive expression right here, in the Russian Revolution. In 1917, after centuries of being ruled by an all-powerful czar, and after the unbelievable suffering of World War I, the workers and peasants of Russia just rose up. They didn't just get a new king, they tore down the entire system and built the world's first socialist state, setting the stage for the epic ideological conflicts of the 20th century.
So, there you have it. From the Renaissance questioning authority, to revolutions demanding rights, to new ideologies forging nations, it was just one domino falling after another. Each event triggering the next, completely unraveling the medieval world and creating ours. So the question for us, today, is which of these powerful ideas, liberty, nationalism, equality, do you think is still shaping our world the most?